Hi guys, welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be training, this time a little bit different. I'm not training alone. So over here we've got Omar. Omar's a local Rochester player. He's also a coach here. He sets up his own clinics and things like that. Make sure you follow him on Instagram, especially if you're in the Rochester, Buffalo, Syracuse kind of area. Very good player as well. Played with Omar a few times on a few different teams here in Rochester. And so we're just going to get a session in today. It's always good to try and get extra touches on the ball. And if you can train with a partner, it's only going to benefit you because you can do some drills that you wouldn't be able to do by yourself. So we can pass the ball into each other, long passing, short passing, stuff that you wouldn't be able to replicate when you're training individually. If you can only train individually, I did put a session up last week that you can do a full session using just a wall. So I'll put a link on the screen right now if you want to check that one out. We're going to go through a bunch of passing drills and also going to do a bit of a finishing drill as well. By the way, also wanted to mention I got a lot of questions on my last video. What is the name of the target net that I was using? So this one's from Pro Football Group. So Pro Football Group is an Australian based company. They do a lot of football training equipment and things like that. I know they ship internationally because they're based in Australia and they shipped all the way here to the US. So no matter where you live, you should be able to pick one of these up. I know a lot of you guys are from all over the world, all different places. So make sure you check out Pro Football Group. I'm gonna put all the details in my description below. Really good piece of equipment, really easy to set up. It just takes a few minutes. And it's just a good piece of equipment if you don't have a goalkeeper to train against, because it really marks out those target areas that you want to be aiming for. But anyway, we're going to get warmed up here and then we're going to get into our session. So let's go.
So the first thing we did was, of course, warm-up, which I do get a lot of questions about. Your warm-up doesn't have to be complicated whatsoever. You're just moving, getting some dynamic movements in, some jogging backwards and forwards, some dynamic stretches, like these kinds of things. Opening up the groin, getting some side-to-side movements, trying to replicate all the different motions that you would actually perform during a training session. You start by doing them at a low intensity, warming up those muscles, so that when you perform them at a higher intensity, you're not going to get injured. Then after about 5 to 10 minute warm-up, we went into our first passing exercise. Again, we considered this part of the warm-up, but just a technical activity now. So just passing the ball back and forth to each other, taking our first touch through the cones. So this time we were going right to right foot, just pushing the ball through the cones, opening up our body, and then passing it along the ground. Then we went on to our left foot, did the exact same thing. And for each of these exercises, we did about 10 to 15 reps, just warming up our touch and passing, getting in rhythm, staying light on our feet, checking into the space, trying to replicate the kind of movements you would do in a match. Then we varied up our kind of touch. So now we're taking the touch across our body, starting with the left foot, taking it across our body and passing with the right. Then we did the exact same thing once again, but this time taking the touch with our right foot and passing with our left foot. Then we went into another technical activity, this time adding even more of a dynamic element to it. So just warming up our muscles even more, just getting a bit of a sweat on at this point. So working in between those two hurdles there. If you don't have these hurdles, you can use cones or other objects, and then receiving a pass on the opposite side. So not only does the person working between the hurdles have to time their passes and their movements, but the actual person passing the ball for them to come onto has to time their passing as well. Trying to do it in one touch if possible. So working on that weight of pass, making sure it's distributed with the right accuracy and the right weight so that the other player gets there as they get past the hurdle. Then we just changed it up a little bit, so adding a bit of a volley into it now. So using the inside of the foot, working in between those hurdles again. So a little bit of coordination with your feet, high knees, so slight explosive activity, just driving those arms as well. So really warming up the entire body with the technical aspect to it as well. Then we did some thigh touches, so controlling it with the thigh, then playing it back with the inside of the foot. And for each of these drills, we just did 10 reps and then just switching up the activity each time. So just working on the different parts of the body that you would be controlling it during a match, during a training session, just making sure our touches are clean, trying to coordinate those feet at the same time, so just giving your brain something to think about as well, warming up physically and mentally. Then we moved into another passing and receiving activity, this time lifting the ball off the ground ever so slightly, so just adding another element to it. We already worked on some ground passes, so just making it a bit more challenging now. So what we did is we marked out two squares that are probably 4 by 4 meters, and then it was about 20 to 25 yards or so apart from each other. And we're just simply clipping the ball into that opposite square, trying to make it bounce in there, and your partner has to control it in as minimal touches as possible and just return it. So if you have to take 2 or 3 touches, that's absolutely fine, but the goal is to not take more than 3 touches if possible. Although we didn't have a touch limit on it whatsoever, but just controlling the ball however it comes. So if it comes to the chest, the thigh, the outside of the foot, however it comes, just dealing with it and returning it back as quickly as possible. So as you can see, sometimes the ball is slightly bouncing, so we're hitting it on the volley, on the half volley, just being really efficient with our touches, because that's what it's going to be like during a match. You won't always have the time and space to perfectly settle the ball on the ground. You might have to hit it out of the air. So if you can work on these techniques and be accurate with passing it out of the air, you're going to be a more efficient player and a lot more effective for your team. So we worked on this just for a few minutes, probably got 20 to 30 reps back and forth, just warming up our touch, getting it down, working on the accuracy of our passes as well, before moving into a more challenging touch activity. Then we really wanted to work on each other's first touch even more, so we set up another square probably around the exact same size that we were just working with. This time one player is working at a time while the other player is just smashing the ball into that square, making it as difficult as possible for their partner to control. So sometimes skipping it off the ground, sometimes fizzing it in at knee height, just making their life very difficult so that they have to be on their toes, adjust their body and try and get that touchdown. There wasn't a touch limit with it, just trying to be as efficient as possible, 2 to 3 touches if possible, getting that ball down in the square and returning it to your partner. This is a great drill, it really does challenge you, and the good thing about this one is you're not often going to receive balls like this in a match, but sometimes you will. Sometimes it's going to skip off the ground, sometimes it's going to take a deflection, and you need to be on your toes ready to receive that ball at all times. And the great thing about this drill is if you can deal with these types of passes, when it comes to then controlling a normally weighted pass, you're going to find that even easier. So I would recommend working on this drill, and you're going to find a lot more success with your first touch on the pitch. Then we moved into a first touch and finishing exercise. I was the only one to take on some reps for this one because Omar had to leave. But we're just standing on the goal line, feeding the ball into our partner. Our partner's standing about 20 to 25 yards away from the goal. Just getting the first touch out the feet, and then with the second touch, just trying to guide it into the corners. So for the first round, just using the inside of my foot, guiding it, going for accuracy above everything, just getting into a rhythm, finding my range, trying to get a good clean first touch, although that last one was a bit too close to my feet. Trying to move it out of your feet so that your second touch, you can become nice and fluid and go straight into that shot. So just guiding them for the first one, that last one wasn't so good. But the second round was a bit better, cleaner first touch out of the feet and adding a bit more power now, so shooting more with the laces this time. That was a bit close to the feet, that was a good touch there. Just trying to set it so you can come onto it straight away. Like that, out my feet, that was a better finish as well. Just setting that ball. That one was a bit too close to my feet, so you get the idea, trying to get the ball out of your feet about 3 or 4 yards or so and coming onto it first time and striking it. Just working from both sides. We only had time to work on my right foot for this one. That touch was okay, finish wasn't good on that one. And a nice one to finish the round as well. Then Omar had to leave, so I stayed behind just to work on some free kicks. As I'm usually a free kick taker, I will dedicate some time to work specifically on my free kicks. So just working on different scenarios I would probably face during a match. So I usually practice a few from the center, like I am doing right now, trying to wrap it into that left-hand side because that's the corner I would typically aim for. Then I'll move out to each side and vary up my technique ever so slightly. But even if you have developed a good technique, it's good to polish it up as often as possible, because as you'll see with these free kicks, it might look consistent at times, but I'm really only hitting that top corner, sometimes 2 out of 3 times, mainly 1 out of 3 times, and then hitting the post a few times as well. So it's good to be as consistent as possible, and the only way you develop consistency is through repetition, because especially with free kicks, it's very important that you hit the target as often as possible, because not only is that the only way it's going to result in a goal, but even if the keeper makes a save, it could get saved out for a corner or deflected out into the box, and then a striker can follow in. So you want to make it difficult for the goalkeeper to save, so aiming for those corners, putting some movement on them, trying to make them as challenging as possible. As you can see here, I've moved out to the left-hand side now, just trying to wrap it into that far post. So a little bit of a different technique. I'm wrapping around the ball a little bit more now, trying to make it dip, trying to make it spin. Just trying to wrap it into that side. That was a better one. And then found a little bit of rhythm here. And then finally moving out to the opposite side. I absolutely love taking free kicks from this side. This is the old David Beckham one. He used to hit this one so sweetly. And if you want to watch some free kicks of David Beckham, you'll see him performing this much better than I ever could. So he is the absolute master of this technique, wrapping it around, curling it, making it go towards the middle of the goal, then put so much spin that it comes to the outside and ends up in the top corner. That last one was a good example of what I'm trying to go for, trying to make it swerve, make it look like it's coming down the middle of the goal and then wrapping away at the last minute into that far side. Trying to develop some consistency with it. As you can see, trying to get some up and down movement as well, because I'm not able to train with a wall or a goalkeeper, but still trying to be realistic with my shots, not just trying to guide it into that corner, but make it have some up and down movement and some right to left movement as well. Imagining there's a wall there, a 6-foot wall that I have to get up and over and wrap it around as well.
Alright, so that's going to be it for today's session. Just packed away the target net from Pro Football Group. Super easy to pack away, by the way, just takes a couple of minutes. So much faster to pack away than it is set up, but it's still quick to set up as well. Probably set it up in about 3 to 4 minutes, and it takes like a minute to 2 minutes to pack away. And it comes in that carry case as well. I can just throw it in the back of my car, and I've always got it on me anytime I want to do a finishing session. But make sure you check out my description if you want to know where I got the target net. I know a lot of you were asking me in my previous finishing video, so that's where you can go and get it. But if you did enjoy today's video, make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe button for weekly training videos, and I will see you guys in my next video.